there's so many places, especially in startups, where like everyone knows what to say, right? But like many places do not believe in what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, what do you do to kind of not just signal, but to show people, not show, don't tell,
Yeah.
like new hires so they can really, get up and do their best.
Well, like to your point, it starts before the hire,
Yeah.
right? Like, you really have to start this in the interview process, right? And so, in our interview process, I think part of it is we've got honestly a really, really good set of core values that we do really own and embody. And a portion of that is that not only does everyone have a core values interview where we go through, here are the 6 core values, but your performance review, is actually done against those 6 core values as well. So that's one piece that is definitely really important that shows like, yes, like we care about communication and education and, this sort of mentality. But another piece that's really important, the way that I often say it, and actually this is in sort of like learning about productive disagreement, the way that I often say it is, at the core of Indico, we are doing something new, right? That means that by definition, nobody knows the right way to do it. That means every person that joins is going to have to develop some opinion about the right way of doing something. It's sort of like piloting this massive, massive ship, right? We don't know where the iceberg is going to show up, right? It's incredibly complex. We don't know where the next problem is going to be. So we need to make sure that every single employee at Indico feels confident to like raise their hand and be like, oh, there's an issue here. Or the way that I often say it, and this is kind of, the concrete benchmark that we hold ourselves to, is that me as the CTO, right? I have to be, if I'm up and giving a presentation to the whole company, right? Anyone at the company should feel comfortable raising their hand just in the middle, like interrupting me in the middle of a presentation and being like, no, actually, that's wrong. You're full of shit, right? And critically, that is leadership's job to maintain, right? That kind of environment. So just as much, and so we tell them that we really, really mean that in the interview stage, right? But then in terms of modeling that, I think that if your executive team isn't actually modeling that for you, then it doesn't really matter, right? So we actually make a really big point as sort of, the leadership team of, having productive disagreements publicly, right? Of recording a lot of these Zoom sessions where it's like, wow, here's us just like beating each other up on product for an hour, right? And sharing all of that stuff, right? Because I think that, if people can't see you like really, really kind of productively disagreeing with each other, if you can't model like a respectful, productive way of doing that, they're not going to know how to follow suit.
There's some like really good techniques in there that I enjoy, and I also completely agree that it starts with the hiring phase, which is funny because like people have talked to me about like, how do I have a great team, or like how do I like get the best out of someone when they're on the team. So well, it starts with, did you hire the right people? And it doesn't mean like the person's a bad fit, like a bad person or not good enough. It's just like, are they with like what you're going to try to do? Like I think
Yes,
there's a lot of
it's
people that have the
mutual
mentality.
fit.
Yeah, a lot of people have the mentality where it's like, I'm grabbing a body. I'm grabbing a body. Oh, you can do JavaScript. Well, you can go do this. And it's like that person can do their best work at maybe a very small section of things in the world, just like I can, just like you can. So like just putting them, like throwing money at them and saying, go do this thing, means that you're potentially denying them the thing that would actually make them great, very happy in the world. But if you find the people that actually would be great on the team, then like when they come in, like everything else kind of flows better. But so it's really interesting to hear you echo that point as well, that I think a lot of people miss, which is the hiring process is a key spot in not just finding the right people, but setting the tone for the relationship when they come in. Because a lot of places that I've found is that they'll have like one standard for hiring, and when they come in, it's almost, you can almost like see the whiplash on people when they're like, oh, this is what it is, or oh, this is what we're built. I've known people who join a place and they are literally like, so what are we building? Just to double check, because like everywhere just screws with them so much. It's like
It is true.
You just
It's absolutely heartbreaking, right? Like
yeah.
I think everyone loses honestly when you do that, right?
Yeah.
My opinion is like in that like culture conversation, right? You should be disqualifying as many people as you're qualifying, right? And that's a mutual disqualification, really importantly, right? You want to make sure you're putting the candidate in a spot to disagree, right? And if the things that you're saying about your culture and your company aren't objectionable, if they're not arguable, if you can't say like with a straight face at the end, like some people like this, some people don't, but we're looking for people that do, right? Then you haven't really, then you're just kind of doing apple pie kind of stuff, right? Stuff that just like sounds good, but it's probably not realistic.
Yeah.